Hi everyone, it's Tanya Tracy with Flow Physical Therapy and Pilates in Asheville, North Carolina, and I'm back again with another Feature Area Friday. So today's feature area is hamstrings. So the reason I wanted to talk about hamstrings is I want to show everyone how to stretch them correctly. I see this with clients and patients coming in that sometimes they're stretching it or intending to stretch it and they're getting other body parts involved that they don't necessarily want involved. And I see this sometimes in trailhead parking lots or in parks when I'm running through or biking through. And I feel like it is awesome that people want to put in that time to stretch because you can get some very good flexibility and injury prevention out of it. But I feel like if you want to do it, number one, make sure you're doing it correctly so you don't injure yourself. And number two, make sure that when you're doing it, you want to do it correctly because you want to get the most out of the time that you're dedicating to it. So I want to go through and show a couple ways that I see that people are doing it incorrectly and why it's not the best way to stretch them. And then I want to go and show a couple ways, like 2 to 3, of how I like to have people stretch it and how I personally do this myself so that I'm actually stretching just the hamstrings and not getting in other body parts to compensate for them. So I'm going to pause the video for a moment, but you're not going to notice, other than a shift in a little bit of the camera angle. Okay, I'm back. So the one way I see people doing this is they typically put their foot up on something, whether it be their bike rack, some kind of railing by the car. Sometimes they put them up on picnic table, benches, anything. I see people put their leg up and then they bend to stretch forward. So you can already see this. My upper back is actually the thing that is doing the stretch when I come forward, unless I really force it, and then I'm going to feel it in the hamstrings. But by that time, now my lower back is also rounded, so I'm kind of doing this big back stretch. And I haven't done much more for the hamstrings. I'm going to show another angle. So I'm going to put one hand on the front of my pelvis, one on the back. So this is just in standing. When I go to put my foot up on this spot, what you can see is already now this hand is a little higher than this hand. So what that means is my pelvis has rotated backwards to get my foot up there. That means that I've reached the end of my hamstring length, and then I've pushed it past how far the hamstrings have for flexibility, because the hamstrings attach here. So if something is too high, we rotate that attachment down to take a stretch off of the hamstring. So now what we've done is by rotating the pelvis back, we've put a little bit of strain into our low back. And then further, again, I'm reaching and we're further straining that low back. So that is one reason I say those aren't the greatest ways to stretch it. The other variation that I see of this is, again, people will put their foot up on something. This time, they kind of rotate and they reach. And you'll see them reaching for that toe, and they're getting there half the time and grabbing. So the reason this isn't great is if I look at my pelvis, now my pelvis is rotated away and I'm going down. So I'm also getting a stretch through my back here. So kind of like the side and your rib cage to be able to do this. And the stretch is going to be more concentrated now along these adductor muscles or the inner thigh muscles. And then just one portion of the hamstring gets a little bit stretched. So again, we're not fully stretching the hamstrings when we're doing that stretch. So there are some better ways that we can go about this. So again, I'm going to pause the camera again to get a better angle on this. The next one, my head will probably be cut off. And again, that's okay because you don't need to see my head. You just need to see my body and especially the lower half. So enough of the incorrect ways. Now I'm going to show you what I consider to be the best ways to stretch the hamstring. So the first one I'm going to show you is in standing. And this is nice because you can do this in parking lots, you can do them at parks, you can do them anywhere. So you're just going to put a foot out. You can either have the toes down or you can lift toes up. You're going to feel like you have a rod going from your back of your head to your tailbone, so your back stays nice and straight. And you're just gonna hinge at the hips, so you're gonna feel your butt sticking out and your chest staying lifted to get that stretch. So you will feel it all along the back of the leg. If you pull the toes up, it is going to increase the intensity of the stretch, because now we're putting a little bit more of a pull along the nervous system tissue. So it's called dural tissue tension, and it's that tissue that the nerve travels through. So we're actually stretching a little bit of some of the nervous tissue as well when we do this. So you can do a little up and down and glide that nervous tissue, as well as just getting the hamstring stretch, or you can just hang out into the hamstring stretch. I recommend people do stretching for 30 to 60 seconds, or another nice easy way, and I've talked about this in other videos, is to do yoga breathing, where you inhale for an extended period, imagining you're inflating the area you're stretching, and then exhaling, imagining all that just deflating and relaxing. And you can do around 3 to 5 yoga breaths, and that will give you about what you want when you're doing a static stretch. So looking at this from the front, the foot comes out. I'm putting my hands on my pelvis so you can see what happens with the pelvis. So again, chest stays lifted, back straight, hinging forward. And what you'll notice is my pelvis doesn't rotate. It stays straight ahead when I'm doing this. So again, the stretch is even along the back of that thigh to get your hamstrings evenly. Your hamstrings are actually 3 different muscles that are a group. So the hamstrings is a grouping of muscles. So that's how you can do it in standing. And laying down, you can use a strap or a belt, or sometimes people use a towel, or a yoga strap is really nice. So you put it around the arch of the foot, your other leg goes straight, and you just bring it up. When you do this, you want to make sure you feel like your tailbone stays anchored down, so you're not rolling your back or flattening your back, because flattening your back will give you extra range, but then you're stretching your back again. So tailbone stays planted, and you're just pulling up until you feel a gentle to moderate pull in the back of the thigh. We don't pull it as far as it can go, because number one, that doesn't feel good. And when it doesn't feel good, our body tends to tense up and it won't let it relax. It thinks we're going to injure the spot. So you go to that moderate position, the moderate stretch or moderate tension, and that's where you hang out with your stretch. And over time, you'll feel your body kind of give, and so then you can bring it up a little bit more. You can also do the same point and flex at the foot to get the little nerve glide or the tissue glide. If you don't have a strap, you bend your knee, clasp your hands behind your knee, and then you just straighten that leg until you start to feel that stretch at the back of the leg. And again, you can do the same thing, pointing and flexing the foot to glide the dural tissue. So that is hamstring stretches. Those are the ones that I have people do consistently, especially my patients, because it puts it just on the hamstring. So you don't have that same risk of twisting your pelvis, pulling on your back, or stretching those muscles unevenly so that you create an imbalance. So I hope this was helpful. If you liked it, then you can literally like it, or share it, or follow, or subscribe, and do all those fun social media things. And if you want to find out more about my practice, my website is flowptandpilates.com. Thank you so much, and I will see you all next Friday.